Zelete, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. For decades, the world was told a polished story about West Africa, a narrative of gradual modernization, regional economic integration, and benevolent international oversight. But behind diplomatic handshakes and summits in European capitals, a very different mechanism was at play. Monetary colonialism enforced through a currency created in 1945 called the CFA franc. When public outrage across Francophone Africa reached a breaking point, French President Emmanuel Macron and Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara stood before international media in Abidjan to make a major announcement. They declared the CFA franc dead, announcing that a new regional currency, the ECO, will replace it under the framework of ECOWAS. It was framed as a historic reform and the end of monetary paternalism. However, independent analysts, legal experts, and political commentators have pointed out that the structural foundation of the system remains intact. A close examination of the monetary agreements drafted between Paris and regional authorities, specifically Article 8, reveals that a representative of the French Republic retains a seat on the Monetary Steering Committee in times of crisis. Critics argue this clause ensures that key decisions of liquidity, reserves, and monetary policy remain subject to external oversight. The proposed ECO remains tied to European monetary doctrines, maintaining a fixed peg to the European guaranteed by the French Treasury. Under this structure, participating nations do not hold independent control over foreign exchange rates or monetary policy, keeping regional economies anchored to European financial frameworks. This persistent dynamics is precisely why the geopolitical landscape of West Africa has shifted so dramatically. It explains why Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso rejected the ECO project, viewing it as not genuine reform, but as a continuation of financial dependency under a new name.
Seconds if we look at the Macron or Ouattara bill. It is clearly said, because I have the articles in front of my eyes, that this new currency and the central bank and the CDA will be controlled and again by the French authorities. Article 8, the principle, a return of a representative of the French Republic within the Monetary Steering Committee in case of a situation. Acute, so France will always be present in these institutions, so it's neoism, so we have to leave the CDO. I believe that the states of the US are in class. To do it, I hope so anyway, but precisely to put an end to this. CDO, precisely, thank you. Well, actually, my dear, the US countries were not excluded from the CDA. They resigned by one informed decision of the CDA. And in the statement of the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso that you put us through in the little video sequence earlier, the First Minister, Reims Talba, Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo, says that the US extends a hand to the CDA within the framework of mutual respect for sovereignties. The word sovereignty comes up here. Why? Because the CDAO is one organization, sub-regional, who has lost his sovereignty, especially from 1991, when she has accepted conditionality, so-called democratic development assistance, through the principle, directly manipulated by the French neoism created in 1975, the was aimed at integrating African sub-regional economic. From 91, she started to serve as one horse of three, to threaten the Pan-Africanist sovereignist states and the constrained to remain under the banner of French neoism, or of Western the US. Including the confederal president, is the current president of Burkina Faso. The Portuguese Captain Traoré wants indeed conduct one cooperation with all countries of the world, including those of the CDA without ostracism, without pretension, but without giving up in any way the three requirements vital that inspired the revolutions, and in particular the alliance of the Sahel states, to know first and well, defending the sovereignty of African countries. Secondly, the defense of their freedom of strategic choice partnership and thirdly, the law of African countries, especially therefore those of the alliance of the Sahel states, to defend their interest, vital of their people. If these three conditions of the Sahelian Sacred Trilogy are respected, there is no reason that there is not one good cooperation between the alliance and the state of the Sahel and the CDA, but knowing the inimitable way of sitting of the CDA, it is to be expected that it does not work, because the CDA n'est pas one safe direct organisation, it is an inner order. Direct organisation, c'est une organisation aliénée. Under these conditions, it is necessary to provide that the CDA to disappear because it will fail, et que l'Alliance des Sahel states is condemned to embody the true popular inspirations, those really who are the most popular, even in the countries, from the CDO. Finally, I would like to touch one word of the project, du gas pipeline Trans-Sassari. It did not escape you that there is one conflict around this gas pipeline. Algeria had proposed one route from Abuja in Nigeria, that in any case who would leave Nigeria would pass through Niger and enter Algeria before crossing the Mediterranean to Europe. Morocco is leading another project, who would leave Nigeria, would go along the west coast and would go up through Morocco to enter Europe via Spain, Inuduelago, Moroccan Algiro, around this gas pipeline. And I would like to tell you that the statements of the CDA, and especially these announcements, have not truth value. Very often these are purely media announcements, entertainment policy announcements. It still takes a lot from the spoon to the mouth so that this gas pipeline, Trans-Saharan, is born, especially since it is the object of a great geopolitical tension between the two enemies, so to speak, of North Africa, Algeria and Morocco.
Following political shifts in Bamako, Niger, and Ouagadougou, the leadership of these three nations initiated a fundamental break from the post-colonial status quo. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, Assimi Goïta, Abdrahmane Tchiani are all in all. The three countries formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, and officially announced their exit from ECOWAS. While Western media often criticize this exit as a sudden reaction to regional sanctions, statements from Sahelian leadership, included Burkina Faso Prime Minister, outlined a broader structure critique. Founded in 1975 for economic integration, ECOWAS gradually accepted political conditionalities linked to foreign aid starting in 1991, shifting its role from an autonomous regional body to one aligned with foreign strategic priorities. When civilian administrations failed to contain security crises across the Sahel, ECOWAS offered limited operational defense support. Yet, when military authorities stepped in, the bloc moved rapidly to enforce severe financial blockades, freezing central bank assets, closed trade borders, and raised the threat of military intervention against Niger. For the Sahelian nations, this demonstrated that the regional organization was enforcing external interests rather than protecting member states. The rejection of ECOWAS and the ECO by the Alliance of Sahel States rests on three core pillars. 1. National sovereignty, asserting full control over domestic governance, national resources, and economic planning without external dictation. 2nd, diversifying partnership, exercising the right to select security and economic partners independently, moving away from exclusive reliance on former colonial powers. 3rd, protecting of local wealth, ensuring domestic resources directly fund national security, local infrastructure, and industrial development rather than foreign reserves. To replace the old financial order, the AES is laying the ground for an independent monetary architecture covering a combined market of over 70 million people. Instead of relying on foreign fiat guarantees, this framework is designed to be backed by the region's substantial tangible assets, gold reserves in Mali and Burkina Faso, alongside oil and strategic mineral deposits in Niger. This monetary shift intersects with major infrastructure struggles across North and West Africa, notably the Trans-Sahara gas pipeline. Two competing proposals exist to transport Nigerian gas to European markets. the direct inland route passing through Niger into Algeria, and the coastal route running along 13 West African nations through Morocco, because the inland route relies entirely on Niger's geography. Any major continental energy plan requires direct sovereign cooperation with the AES, rendering coastal economic declaration inefficient without Sahelian alignment. The admission that the ECO framework maintains structural ties to Paris marked a turning point for sovereignty movement across the continent. For the Alliance of Sahel states, reform within the existing system was no longer viable. By establishing an independent security and economic bloc, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have signaled that the era of managed currencies and foreign oversight in West Africa is coming to a definite end. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Europe and in France.